Good evening. I was worried I wasn't going to get on in time. My daughter locked out my iPad and been disabled for the last 5 minutes.
You made it. About
Yep.
30 seconds to spare. I just want to let people know that we are live on YouTube. It's 7 p.m. I'd like to call Ferrisburg City Council meeting to order tonight, Monday, March 15, 2021. Pursuant with Public Act 228, Ferrisburg City Council will conduct its business via Zoom to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Members of the public are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Members of the public are not required to register or otherwise provide information to attend. Please utilize your mute function on your phone while on the conference call when appropriate. Mayor Hopp will run the virtual meeting like a regular meeting. There will be opportunities at the beginning and end of the meeting for public comments. Pursuant to Act 228, each council member must declare their physical location, city, county, and state. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hopp,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember Carlson,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember Blease, Councilmember Montgomery,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember Sias,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Blease at this time.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Sias,
Yay.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yay.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Mayor Hopp,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Moving down to item 3 on our agenda, moment of silence. Please remember all those that have been affected by COVID, including the small businesses that have gone out of business and people that have lost their family and loved ones. And also all of our men and women in uniform as they tackle many challenges every day. And thank you. At this time, please stand and join me with the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
The flag.
of the United
Of the United
States
States of America.
and to the
And to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time on the agenda is for public comments. This time on the agenda is for any citizens to direct brief comments or questions to City Council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please raise your hand to be recognized by the mayor. After being recognized by the mayor, please stand to give your name and address for the record. Proceed with your comment or question. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'm looking, we have 5 attendants, and I see no hands up at this time. So we'll move on in the agenda. Agenda item 6, consideration approval of consent agenda. Approve the March 1, 2021 City Council meeting minutes as printed.
So moved.
support.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
yes,
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. At this time, item number 7, new business, a introduction of Sergeant Christine Wen of Ottawa County Sheriff's Department. And I believe she's in attendance. Sergeant, if you'd like to unmute and introduce yourself at this time. Sergeant, we don't see you nor hear you at this time. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bessinger.
Christine?
We'll wait just a moment.
Okay, we'll try it again another day. Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll try it again another day. Thank you. Bye.
Mayor Hop, Sergeant's having technical difficulties, so we'll try this another day.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to another agenda. With that being said, we'll move down to agenda 7B. Our presentation by Commissioner Douglas Clark Jr. from Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. Welcome, Mr. Clark.
Welcome. Good evening to all of you. My name is Douglas Clark, and I serve as a member of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, also known as the MICRC. I reside in Rochester Hills, Michigan, Oakland County.
Thank
I
you.
would like to thank you, Mayor Hop, and the City Council for giving me the opportunity this evening to speak to you briefly.
I think it's critical information that you'll be sharing with us and also to people that view our video tonight. So thank you.
Correct. I did have some slides. Are those going to come up or not?
Yes,
Okay.
And council also received information in our packet to Mr. Clark.
Okay, great. All right. So why don't we go on to the next slide, please? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the history of the commission. It initially started in 2018 as a proposal number 2 on the to modify the Constitution to move the responsibility of redistricting from the legislatures to nonpartisan citizens in the state of Michigan. So how this worked in electing the 13, or not electing, but selecting the 13 Michigan residents was there's about a 6 or 8 week or 6 or 8 month window where anybody in the state had the opportunity to apply. And the Secretary of State got 9,600 applications. And of that, they were randomly selected from those 9,600, 200. And then those 200 applications went to the legislature. They had an opportunity to eliminate a few based on certain reasons, such as if you held public office or so forth. And the remainder was taken and randomly selected. Out of that, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 5 nonpartisan members for the commission. And we first started meeting in the middle of September and have been putting together our procedures and our organization from that point to this point. The second thing I want to talk about is the responsibilities for redistricting. And we're going to be redistricting 3 different segments for the state. One is the U.S. congressional districts, then the Michigan House and the Michigan Senate districts. Congressional districts, we believe are going to go from 14 to 13. Michigan House is at 110, and I believe the Michigan Senate is at 38 districts. So as we redistrict it, we have to follow the Constitution, and the Constitution provides us with 7 priorities that we have to follow, and in this order. So I'll just briefly tell you what those are, and then I'll give you a synopsis of where we're at this point. One is the districts all should be of equal population. And so there's some variance there. About 1% variance for congressional districts and 5% variance for Michigan House and Michigan Senate districts. Along with that priority is that we have to follow the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And not only the Voting Rights Act, but we also have to follow any subsequent lawsuits and whatever the results of those lawsuits were. So because of that, we've in the process of hiring a voting rights attorney so that we ensure that we follow all the legal aspects of redistricting that we have to. Secondly, the districts need to be geographically contiguous, so we have to ensure that that takes place. And then third, which is one that we've been having a lot of conversation with and struggling a little bit about how we're going to deal with this, is that the districts have to reflect what we call communities of interest. And this is where a certain part of the population shares cultural or historical or economic interests. So some of that data we can get from the census, which is the racial data. We can't get any of the religious data. So trying to identify areas such as the Muslim areas or the Amish areas in the state, we've got to be able to do that so that we can apply that to the communities of interest. Fourth, the districts need to provide a disproportional advantage, must not have a disproportional advantage to any of the political parties. Fifth, the district shall not favor any incumbent or elected official. And the district shall reflect consideration for county and city and township boundaries. And lastly, the district shall be reasonably compact. So what we've done at this point is that we've in the process of hiring a third-party company to help us with the redistricting. They will provide the software, and they will help us integrate the census data and any of the other data that we have available to us into that tool, so that we can then begin to take the census blocks and start to draw the districts. And we will use them as consultants in helping us draw the districts. And they'll actually do the mapping on the software for us so that we don't have to go through significant training to work on the software. So that's basically where we're done at this point. We're also in the process of hiring a Voting Rights Act attorney, and we also have hired an attorney to work with us independently with our group. And we've also hired a communications director. So we can go to the next slide, please. Communications director is responsible for organizing the public hearings for us. We are required through the Constitution to have a minimum of 10 public hearings throughout the state prior to drawing the maps. This will help us identify the communities of interest that we need and we'll get comments from the public on how they envision the maps being drawn. We have scheduled 16, or they're in a process of being scheduled. We have selected 16 and just voted on that the other day on what those 16 were. I believe the closest to you is probably going to be Grand Rapids. And I don't know if they're going to be on Zoom yet or not. It's depending on some of the administrative requirements we get out of the Secretary of State. After we actually do the redistricting and have the maps, then we're required to have 5 more hearings, public hearings, and we're scheduling 8 there. And again, those are scattered throughout the state as well. So can I go to the next slide? So the purpose of the public hearings. 1 is to inform the public about the redistricting process itself. And then we want to share the purpose and responsibilities of the commission. But the main purpose is to get information from the public about potential redistricting plans. We want to get their input, and then we want to apply that input as appropriate as we actually do the redistricting. So at this point, we've done no redistricting. We won't until we have the redistricting company on board and we get the census data. And we have an issue with the census data. It originally was due to us by the end of March from the federal government. They delayed it to April. They delayed it again to end of July, and now it's delayed to the end of September. And we have a requirement to have all the mapping done by November 1st. So that would include not only doing the redistricting maps, but it would also include having those additional 8 town hall public hearings to get input from the citizens of Michigan. So we're on a tight schedule there, and we're going back to the Michigan government to see if we can get it adjusted somewhat. So because there is some work after we've completed our work done down at the city and the county levels that need to be addressed as well, and that's going to take them some time. So can I go to the next slide, please? So if you have questions as time goes on, or any ideas to increase our awareness and engagement, you can provide those on redistricting@michigan.gov. Or that's the email address, or mail them to MICRC Post Office Box 318, and they'll be addressed from there. Each of our meetings, we also have public comments. You can sign up for that if you prefer to do that, and come to the meetings, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak to the commission. So that's done at every meeting. So, that's all I have at this point in time, and I would be happy to take any questions.
At this point, Mr. Clark, thank you very much for your willingness to share this information with council this evening. I truly appreciate it. I know that there's been great lengths taken to get to this point. And congratulations to you for being one of the chosen to do this work, but also for accepting the challenge that's put out before you. So
You're welcome.
I know a few of the elected officials in Rochester Hills, and you had a good group of people that are over there. So
Oh yeah,
thank
very
you.
much. I know a few of them as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Any other council members have questions, comments for Mr. Clark at this time?
Your Honor,
Yes.
Mr. Clark, it would appear that you're mandated to have this done by November 1st.
Correct.
It would appear that you're going to need an extension.
Yes, it appears that way. We can't go to the legislature to get an extension because this is part of the Constitution.
Mhm.
And so they can't change that. We have talked about and probably are going to go to the Michigan Supreme Court to get them to act on our behalf to give us some leeway to adjust it. So that's our approach at this point in time. So the governor can't change it. The legislature can't change it. So we're going to see if the courts can give us a little relief on that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mike, once we draw our maps, I indicated that we got to bring it to, we're going to be bringing it to 8 public hearings. There's got to be a 45-day period in between the time we finish the maps and those public hearings. So you map that up against the September 30th, getting the census, 45 days runs into the middle of November, just before you can have the other public hearings. So that's the type of situation we're under at this point in time. So unless for some reason the federal government releases it earlier than expected.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from council for Mr. Clark?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I just got one quick question. You said we're going to lose a representative?
That's the expectation. We will lose at least one, but we don't know that yet. That hasn't been provided to us from the federal government. But that's the expectation. We're going to go down to 13 on the national side. Yep.
Okay.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll stay
Right.
at 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's big population shift in the country. California expects to lose some as well. And Florida and Texas will be gaining at this point. So we'll see. We'll see when the census people release the actual quantity. So
Thank you.
okay, thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much again, Mr. Clark, for taking time out this evening and providing us with this information. It's
You're
very
welcome.
much appreciated.
Welcome, you're out.
Okay, thank you. I did see the sergeant on at one point, but now has disappeared. So we'll just move down to item 7C, the presentation from Tom Godfrey, who is our Ferrisburg representative to the Noach Board. So Mr. Godfrey, if you'd like to speak.
Sure, thank you. I'm assuming all of you know why I'm here. North Ottawa Community Hospital is a nonprofit community corporation who is in its charters requires that a representative from the local municipalities sit on the board. And about a year and a half ago or so, I was elected that honor to do that. So I thought it would be appropriate for me to give you an update. There's really nothing happening that's precipitating me to do this, other than my duty to keep you folks informed as to what's happening or where we are at Noach, North Ottawa Community Hospital. So what I do, I have a couple prepared things here. I will step through them. Feel free to stop me and ask any questions that you may have. And certainly when I'm done, we'll have time for discussion as well. The first area I'll start talking about really is the COVID effect on the hospital. I mean, that's front and center of everybody. And certainly Noach, being a hospital, had huge impacts from that. The surge hit Noach hardest in December and January recently. Very busy, never totally overwhelmed, but we did have patients in, the hospital was full and we had patients in ER as we were working through that. Everybody, it worked out well. The staff worked long hours like all frontline medical workers. They did an outstanding job, and we're really proud of that. As you can imagine, people in general are somewhat reluctant to go to their doctors, visit hospitals for routine things. So as a consequence, our volume levels at Noach are down pretty much across the board for light surgeries, general visits. We're starting to see the numbers come back up, but they definitely are well below where they were pre-COVID. The other thing that we've just been able to do at Heartwood Lodge, which is our long-term care facility, we've been able to host family visitations by appointment only, which is a positive move. I mean, for a long time, we just were locked down, and that was very difficult for the residents and the families who could not see their loved ones and come in. That's been an area that's been hard hit as well. I mean, we've not been able to get new patients in, so our census levels are a little bit low due to COVID as well there. On the vaccination front, NOCH has administered almost, about 2,900 vaccines so far. Over 1,000 of them were the second shots or the boosters. Ottawa County is currently has a 3.7 positive rate on their tests, which is relatively low compared to Grand Rapids and some of the other major cities across the state and country. Our PPP or PPE is not an issue anymore. That's stable. We're anticipating more vaccines coming in. And actually, we're really anticipating our role in terms of vaccinations to diminish over time as the government is broadening the distribution network for vaccines, through pharmacies and other community health organizations. So that seems to be happening. At NOCH, if you haven't already registered for a vaccine and would like to do so, you can do it at noch.org, and you can get on our wait list and get in for a vaccine as well. Some of the other things that have been going on, of course, the business of running a hospital continues to go with or without COVID. And we believe it or not, we've had state audits and surveys as normal. A lot of them have been done virtually like this. Some have come in and visited, but we've done very well. We continue to score well and perform well in those types of audits. We had one commission on accreditation for ambulance services. We had an excellent we had our annual hospital survey by the state that went very well. Continued to, small things. They really look under everything, but really got a great rating from them as well. And then our patient scores continue to be high. I think the patients that we do see at NOCH appreciate the personal touch they get from the patient care side, which is something a little more difficult to do in a larger institution. Let's see here. Our operations, you may have read or heard that we closed our OB hospital unit back in the fall. We had a couple of doctors in the OB area move away, and the other OB doctors moved over as part of the affiliation agreement with Mercy. So that while we can continue to see patients for OB services in the hospital, delivering babies is being done up at Mercy. So, a lot of that, we kind of went around and around, and Mercy, really had the capacity and wanted the babies born up there. So we do not deliver babies in Grand Haven any longer as a result of that. The hospital has continued to work on several improvement areas and has made progress on that from a financial standpoint. COVID really kind of blew us out of the water. In 2020, we estimate by applying for a lot of the government PPP loans and other monies that are available to healthcare providers from the state and the federal levels, we've had to kind of reconstruct what the cost of COVID has been for the hospital. And that number is about $6.6 million for NOCH and Grand Haven. To date, we've received about $3.3 million in various PPP and support loans and grants from the federal government. Obviously, we've got a shortfall there, but there are programs that we're continuing to pursue and feel will be able to fill that gap over time. Other things going on, we have over the last year and a half, we've been able to expand some of our surgical robotics programs. We now have Mako technology along with what they call a Da Vinci arm, which allows us to perform orthopedic, general, and urological surgeries with robotic assistance. We've also gotten a new 3D mammogram machine and cardiac echoes. So we've been able to update some of the equipment at the hospital in the last year and a half. One thing we are working on is a fundraiser for hospice. Hospice is another area that the hospital has run for years and is very much a needed and successful service. You know, one of the things, and as you guys know, the healthcare landscape has really changed, and you know, a lot of the intricate procedures, surgeries go to larger institutions. And one of the things we're trying to work through is what's appropriate to be done locally and what's appropriate to get referred on. Hospice is one of those things where that is very local. You know, I don't know how you administer hospice long term. And we have an outstanding group that runs that, and we've seen significant growth over the last several years. So that really is a gem of the services we provide to the community. We have a fundraiser that we're kicking off for that. And because of the restrictions, it's kind of an online, what we're doing is an opportunity to cook with Chef Jenna from Amora's Italian restaurant. And you get a package of food and you prepare it in your own kitchen via Zoom. So if you're interested in that, look at the Noach website. Great opportunity to support hospice as well. So with that, I think what I'll do is open it up for any questions that you folks may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Godfrey, for taking the time tonight to update us on things going on at Noach. I know that it's a very important institution, very close to home for us. And I also thank you for your time serving on that board, because it is a large commitment that board members undertake when they accept those positions. So thank you for doing that. As a volunteer with the
Of course.
Oh,
No,
okay.
Thank you.
I serve as a volunteer with the Ottawa County Emergency Center, and so frequently we do get updates, but your update today was much more personable, and I really appreciate that. If you could forward information to council or to Mr. Bessinger regarding the fundraiser that you're doing for hospice, then we could try to disseminate it out to our residents and hopefully create some more interest for that.
Excellent. Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions from council at this time? Mr. DeWitt.
Mr. Godfrey, we used to get board meeting minutes. Is that something that's gone by the wayside, or is it confidential, or what's the story with that?
Yeah, I don't know what the story is. I was unaware that you used to get minutes. I don't see why we can't continue to share them. It may have been something that just fell through the cracks when I came in and the previous board member left. So let me look into that, and I'm sure we can continue to do that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that if you could.
Okay, absolutely.
Any other comments or questions from council? Okay. Hearing none,
Okay.
Thank you again, Mr. Godfrey. Really appreciate your time this evening that you've taken to share this information.
Thanks, Mayor.
Take care.
Have a
Stay
good night,
safe.
folks.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Moving down to our next agenda item, 7D, discussion take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution to support the Smiths Bridge project grant request.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution to support the Smiths Bridge project grant request.
Support.
I'll support.
Okay, there's motion and support on the table. Yes, Mr. Bessinger.
Just to note that in this resolution, that the city is proposing a 15% match.
Yes. Do you have that exact dollar amount that equates to, Mr. Bessinger?
The estimate right now is $1 million, so it'll be about $150,000 plus engineering.
Plus engineering on top of that. So the engineering fee is generally a third or half again as much,
Around 12-15% in that ballpark.
12 to 15%. Okay. Is this something that our funds are able, our budget's going to be able to support as we move forward this year?
Yes.
It will. Okay. Thank you. There's a motion support. Further discussion by council? Okay. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
yes,
Councilmember Carlson,
yes,
Mayor Hop,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Moving down to item 7F. No, 7E, discussion take action if appropriate to approve the quote from blank for the dollar amount blank for design and construction engineering for Dogwood Drive project. In our packet, we received information from Preen and Newhoff. And then on Friday, we received information via an email from Lauren Brugink.
Your Honor,
Yes.
if you would, could you have Craig go through the email from Warren Brusnick? I did not receive it.
We need to have a motion to support before we move into discussion, please.
I'll support that.
There's,
What are we supporting?
Mike wants to go over the email that was sent out.
Yeah,
the
I did
agenda
not,
item on the table right now is discussion, take action, if appropriate, to approve a quote from blank for a dollar amount blank for design and construction engineering of Dogwood Drive project. So the motion would need to be directed around that.
okay, Your Honor, I will make the motion. We accept the quote from Preen and Newhoff for the Dogwood Drive project for, I don't see the number here.
It's on the front page, 720,000 plus engineering.
For 720,000 plus engineering.
No, excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
So the quote for engineering for Prine and Newhoff is $150,800.
Oh, thank you for that correction, sir.
And then the quote for Warren Brunjic, Mr. DeWitt, was for $161,324.
So my motion is to accept the quote from Preen and Newhoff for whatever the number is. You lost me there, Craig.
It was 150,800.
Yes,
For $150,800.
support,
Okay, motion support. So with the further discussion, we have both Preen and Newhoff and we have Moore Brugink, both on the call tonight. If council has questions directed towards either one of those at this time? Yes, Councilmember Carlson.
is there any difference in the scope of engineering that's being done or additional services, Craig, between the two?
No, there's not.
There's just a dollar figure of approximately $11,000.
And most of that is the differences in the design engineering. Construction engineering is pretty much the same dollar amount from each company, with a Moore Brunjic being a little higher on the design side.
Your Honor, if I
Yes.
may. Moore and Brusnick, we had a problem with them on Virginia Avenue. Apparently they can't figure out that water runs downhill and the water was running in driveways and we had an issue with that. Also, when they designed the Van Wagner Road project, there's a culvert under the road here. Apparently they couldn't figure out that it needed attention. So that ended up costing the city, I don't remember the exact number, but we co-paid part of the issue. I don't remember the numbers, but we accepted a 50-50 pay with them. I don't remember the exact numbers. You, Craig?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Well, anyway, so the last two projects they've done for us has been disappointing, to say the least. I just wanted to throw that out there because I know some of the council members were not involved in those issues prior to being elected. And I think I need to throw that out there to make an informed decision on this.
Thank you. Is there additional comments, questions from anyone? Okay. I want to thank both Prina Newhoff and Lauren Brugink for attending the call tonight. So at this time, we'll have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Moving down to item 7F, discussion and take action, if appropriate, to adopt a resolution authorizing Ottawa County to issue refunding bonds to refund bonds issued in 2011 for 2011 now Series B water for Northwest Ottawa water system improvements. The annual savings of about $3,000 per year through 2031, and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign all necessary documents.
Your Honor,
Yes,
just to clarify, the savings of $3,000 per year, that is for the city of Ferrisburg only.
for the city only. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Your Honor, I would make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing Ottawa County to reissue the bonds.
Support.
Motion and support. Any further discussion regarding this? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Moving down to 7G. Discussion take action if appropriate to approve a proposal for city farmer for $43,800 for lawn maintenance for city parks and several city-owned properties.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion that we not take any further action on this and leave the situation as handled by our DPW currently.
okay. So there's a motion, is there support?
I'll support.
Okay. Further discussion around this?
Your
Yes,
Honor.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Looking at the facts and figures, there is no substantial savings to the city to farm this out, so to speak. In fact, we would be paying more money than we are currently paying. So as long as there's no savings, we also have our current DPW workers are doing a good job with keeping the lawns and everything mowed and looking good, and they're good ambassadors for the cities. They're out and about, able to also keep an eye out for things happening and being good representatives for the city.
I agree with you 110% because they are an extension of City Hall. Every time that they go out to do work, it's their opportunity or residents' opportunity to reach out and talk with them. They definitely are the face for the city when they're out and about. So additional comments or questions from any other council members? Yes, Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, what was the driving force to have this idea to contract out lawn maintenance?
We're looking, oh, go ahead, Mr. Bezender.
There was a request to just to compare the cost on what the city cost is and what would be done to have it contracted out, just to see if there's any cost savings available to the city.
And this way, it's also able to demonstrate to our residents that council is doing due diligence, looking at every opportunity of expenditures and where we could save if possible. So. Councilmember DeWitt.
Your Honor, as I'm looking through these numbers here, Craig, do we fertilize? Is that part? I don't see any fertilizer on this breakdown of the city lawn maintenance.
It's a separate contract.
So we contract that out?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Does the bid for from the city farmer, does that include any fertilizer or not?
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments, questions? Okay. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
No,
Councilmember Montgomery,
This is to maintain it in-house, correct?
correct.
Then yes.
point of order.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Councilmember Carlson has a question at this point. Yes.
Debbie, could you read the resolution again? Because I thought it was to award the contract to city farmer.
No, this was to take no further action on a proposal for the city farmer for lawn maintenance for city parks and several city-owned properties to have it remain as is.
Can I change my vote then to a yes?
I can scratch it out and change it to a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking for clarification.
Councilmember O'Donnell, you're next.
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes.
okay, city parks remain as is.
Okay, thank you. Moving down to work session H. I had asked for the strategic plan to be placed on tonight's agenda. However, reviewing both the leaf pickup and the time that it will be for the city budget, I would recommend moving the strategic plan to our April work session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Sounds good.
support.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you. Do we need a roll call on that? Deb?
Do you want a roll call, Craig? It's
Yes,
a work
please.
session item.
No, okay. Roll call, please. Yes, Councilmember Sias.
I do have a question on the leaf pickup. During our work session next month, could we have maybe some areas or properties we could take into consideration for a leaf disposal site rather than doing a leaf pickup like we were discussing? Craig, could you maybe have the DPW guys think of some areas that would be suitable for that? So we could add that into our discussion.
We're doing that next on the work session.
We're doing that. That's our next work session is leaf pickup. Right now, we're talking about a motion and support for moving the strategic plan work session to the April meeting.
Oh, strategic, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Thought you were moving a leaf.
No. Okay,
Do you
So-
want a roll call vote?
yes, please.
Councilmember Sias,
Yay.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes,
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes,
move to April.
thank you. Moving down to 7I, the leaf pickup. Yes, sorry, Mr. Police.
Well-
Mr. Messenger.
Either just for the first meeting in April or the second meeting in April.
I prefer the first one so we could, since we've already moved it a little bit. Thank you. Okay, with the leaf pickup, staff provided information in our packet regarding this because it was a question that we had for a while, looking at saving money and time for the city. So, yep, Mr. Buzzinger, if you'd like to begin this conversation?
Sure. We did do some research at the January meeting. City Council asked for additional information. One of the questions was the previous site that the city used to lease from for planks behind the house on North Shore Road, if that was still available. That was a 3-acre parcel, I think, and we leased about a little over an acre and used it for compost. Verplanks is no longer interested in leasing that site for a compost. Staff did go around the city, the DPW guys did, and try to come up with a property for leaf disposal. Their best suggestion was City Hall property, but I'm not sure that would work out good here. Inside your packet was information to provide every resident with a lawn waste cart. And it's going to be cost prohibitive to do something like that, about $150,000 a year. The other option was to put boxes and screen them in, fence them in someplace, maybe where with the DPW, where residents could bag their own leaves and bring it to a location at scheduled times. We're figuring at least $13,000, but we're probably on the low side with estimating at 40 boxes. We're doing 500 cubic yards of leaves that are packed in. When leaves come in bags, they're not going to be packed in, so it's going to be more bulk. And we're just unsure of how much containers would take to take 550 cubic yards of packed leaves at this time.
And in talking with DPW, they felt that they have this more organized, or they have a system put in place that they're able to do this in a timely manner since they've been doing this for a few years.
Yeah, we did talk to the DPW staff, specifically the supervisor, on different options that the city could utilize, leaf vac truck, something like that. And we keep coming back to the way that is being done now is the most cost efficient for the city to do. The guys have it down pretty much to a science where they can move in and out pretty quick and get these leaves picked up.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest cost for this, service is the packer truck. So,
Right. But this DPW is comfortable moving forward with them continuing to do this instead of outsourcing it in a different way?
that would be their preference, yes.
That would be their preference. Okay. I would like to support the DPW because they are, again, the ambassadors. They're the ones that are out there working hard to keep the city looking great for the residents. And if there's a way that the budget can support this, I would like to see this remain with the DPW. Any other comments, questions from council regarding this? Because with dumpster sites, I've seen them in Grand Haven, and sometimes they're not the most attractive looking because leaves that are dropped off aren't always placed in the receptacle that they're supposed to. And then it rains and it becomes just a really difficult challenge for the DPW crews to come through and try to clean up what's going on. So, Councilmember Carlson.
Yes, what would be the change compared to the present program that we've been using every year now?
I don't believe anything. This was just put on as a work session to continue as is. I mean, if that's what council wanted, we were looking at other avenues, if something would be cheaper, less man hours, but the amount of the items that we have reviewed tonight, it's not going to be any cheaper than where we're at right now. It's no savings for the city.
So, Your Honor, we'd still be looking at using a garbage truck to do the compaction and then have its sitting staff use the front end loader and that type of thing?
Yes. That's what DPW prefers, correct, Mr. Bessinger?
That's correct.
Okay. Councilmember Sias, you had your hand raised?
Oh, no, I was just gonna make a comment on Councilmember Carlson's, that we're just trying to look for ways to eliminate some costs. I think the Packer truck is our main expense here. And it sure would be nice to, find a place to dispose of these leaves rather than doing the Packer truck. Craig, how much did we used to lease that property from what was the cost how much did they charge us on the lease at Verplanks? Do you remember? Do you know about?
Off the top of my head, I have to look it up.
Okay.
Yes, Councilmember Montgomery.
Craig, was that where each community paid $2,000?
No, Verplank still takes leaves from all the communities at their yard site. This was another property that they owned in the city. It has access from North Shore Road to their site to the south. And on that parcel is a house, and behind the house, there was a couple acres where we used it for a compost site.
So we wouldn't be able to send them to Verplanks?
We're gonna still be able to, all the communities will still be able to send leaves to Verplanks, correct?
Okay.
It's just that one property, the rental property, they don't want to use it any longer.
But Mr. Messenger, residents are they allowed to to drop their leaves off at Verplanks, or is it strictly only municipalities?
No,
DPW.
Our residents still drop off by the city garage, correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
Just for clarification for people
Yep.
that are listening to this meeting tonight, so they can understand the conclusion that we came to. So, any other additional comments or questions or directives for staff at this time? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move down to our next work session, 7J, 21-22 city budget. And this is Mr. Messenger's.
Alrighty, give me a second here. I'll share my screen. We've been working on the budget for upcoming year. The department heads and staff have been working on submitting their budgets, and we're trying to put it all in a mix right now. And these are some preliminary thoughts and ideas that we're running through right now as we prepare the budget for July 1st start date. Here you can see this is the vehicle replacement fund for 2021-22. We're basically not doing much. We've got a pickup truck in there, share of the police car. ATV will probably be paid for maybe this year depends on if it gets delivered or not, but we put a placeholder in there in case it gets delivered after July 1st. And here we're saving some money up for the new fire truck that's going to be purchased in 25-26. This is estimated fund balance in the public, our vehicle motorized equipment millage. Here we got at June 30th of 2020, we had $282,000. We're buying a new dump truck. We bought a new hot patch here, part of the police car. And the ATV, we're estimating about $204,000 at June 30th of 21. Next year, fiscal year, we're going to buy the pickup truck and police car, and basically maybe a brush chipper in 22-23. Other than that, we're really not going to, we're going to have some revenue, no other expenses, maybe for the police car. We get down to 25 and we buy a fire truck, and we'll probably be in the hole a little bit. We might have to push that back out another year until we accumulate a little extra revenue. And it depends on the cost of the truck at that time too.
Your Honor, may I ask
Yes.
a question? Craig, that's assuming we get the millage renewal?
That's correct. This is assuming that the millage continues on for another 10 years.
Okay, if we don't get it, then what happens?
We'll be doing something different.
Then these funds will have to come out of the general fund?
That's correct. The police car will have to be paid out of the general fund. The brush chipper will probably be put on hold. We'll have to work on something, try to get funding for a new fire truck. If we don't have any cash for it, we'll either have to take out an installment loan or not do without a fire truck.
So basically, we're looking at approximately 100,000 a year coming out of the general fund if we don't get the millage increase or the
That's correct.
renewal.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember DeWitt, do you have the ability of turning your video back on?
I don't know. Let me check.
Thank you.
I'm afraid to push buttons because things disappear.
This is the next, some miscellaneous items that we're planning to budget for next year. some city hall indoor improvements, carpet and so forth. Maybe some exterior improvements, some lighting. Big cost right here is software payroll. The state is in the process of updating their chart of accounts. The city is going to be required to implement that new chart of accounts beginning in July of 22. The auditors are suggesting that we buy or get payroll in-house. What's going to happen is the budget's going to start looking a little different with the new chart of accounts. Everybody's time is going to have to be allocated to a specific function. So for example, my time is going to, on the budget, is going to show X amount of dollars for fire, X amount of dollars for police, X amount of dollars for water, X amount of dollars for sewer. The new chart of accounts is going to, once it break your cost down a little bit farther than what we've been doing. That'll be statewide. So to bring the payroll into house, it's going to be at least $20,000. Now the equipment for the fire department is just miscellaneous equipment that they got planned to purchase, some turnout gear and so forth, and replace one of the AEDs for the fire department. This is the Public Improvement Fund. The big project next year is Dogwood Drive. We're getting $400,000 for the project through the MPO. The city's on the hook for the rest of it. So with engineering and our costs, we're expecting to spend $50,000. Here, we're going to put about $50,000 in towards Smith's Bridge, the annual debt service on the bike path bond. And here we see we got 2 more payments after this year. Question mark that we have in here is William Ferry Park seawall. We have the DEQ permit to replace that wall. We're looking at estimated costs is right now, if we're going to replace 45 feet of it, or if we're going to replace all 288 feet, and what that cost is. High side is going to be $600,000. We're hoping that's going to come in half that. And here for the next fiscal year, as a placeholder, we have put some money designated for possible match for a fire barn new equipment if we put a grant in. This is the Public Improvement Fund. Here we have on June 30th last year was $155,000. We're going to take some revenue, bike path millage, Ottawa County road millage. We're going to pay the bike path bond, the bridge fund, and we're transfer some money to the major street fund for beginning work on Dogwood Drive. Here we're going to we put a placeholder in for next year of $300,000 for the seawall. If we do that, we'll be about $7,000 short in that fund. So we're going to have to watch our pennies pretty close in there. Here we have Lake Road. A number of years back, the residents on Lake Road petitioned the city to repave that street through a special assessment. We're hoping to get that done for them as we do the Dogwood Drive project. Hopefully there'll be some cost savings and we can do that. Here we have Carmen Driving in there as a placeholder for 23-24. If you've driven that road lately, you can tell it's in very bad shape. In fact, we're not sure it's going to make it that far. You know, we're looking at maybe doing some spot repairs on that street. We did get a public works supervisor did get a quote to do some spot repairs on that street, and they came in pretty reasonable. So I've asked him to get a proposal to repave the whole street and maybe put some new gravel in. We're going to try to do this project without an engineer and save the city some money if we can do it ourselves. In the governor's budget, she has a replacement of Smith's Bridge. When they did the 231 bypass, there was a bridge over the Grand River. A number of communities wanted to put a bike path along that bridge. That was not going to be an MDOT cost. That had to be a local cost. So I'm not sure what's going to be proposed from the state on the replacement of Smith's Bridge if that does get approved. But maybe we'll want to keep an eye on that. And if we have to spend some money to put some kind of pedestrian path across there. Another thing we got to keep an eye on is the city owns another bridge in here, Ridge Avenue Bridge, which is the same vintage as Smith's Bridge pretty much. This is the sewer fund, nothing major going on. Our lift stations are in pretty good shape. They've just been replaced a few years ago. We'll probably do some work on lift station 1 at William Ferry Park sometime in the near future to upgrade a little bit. But here we're just paying the debt service on the lift stations and the force main, improvements at the wastewater treatment plant. We're thinking about maybe getting a sewer line jetter to help clear backups. We're looking at that as a placeholder right now for 48,000. And gas oil separator, there's a drain field in the garage. We're looking at maybe hooking that up to the sanitary sewer. If we do, we got to do a gas oil separator. And if we do that, that's about a $60,000 project. And each fund would pay a portion of that based on the use of the garage. So the trucks for the local street and the major street would pay a portion. The water fund would pay a portion of that improvement. Water fund, nothing major going on, paying some debt on the bonds from 2011, 2016. The green lighting item here, cellular water meters. One of these days, we want to change all the meters out to cellular. That will allow staff in City Hall to read the meters without the DPW have them go out. Residents could see their own usage in real time and so forth. So that's something we'd like to do sometime in the near future as funds become available. The Dogwood Drive project, City Council approved the engineering for that project. It will be done hopefully and start in spring of 2022. On the north side of Dogwood Drive right now, there's a 5-foot sidewalk from Mohawk to the city limits. There's a 8-foot bike path on the south side, southwest side. So depending on what the project cost is, the city might want to look at replacing that sidewalk with a bike path as part of the street project. Wages for the elections, we're proposing $8,000 for wages, $12,000 for supply, $20,000 for elections for the next fiscal year. Here on the right, you can see this year we got $5,250 budgeted, and the 2 previous years was $6,500. Basically, the cost of elections is going up due to the number of absentee ballots going out. First, we got to mail out applications. Once those applications come in, we got to mail them out a ballot. The postage for all that is just getting expensive to cost to the city. And here we have possibly 4 elections next year. If you have any questions for the city clerk, she'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Waringa, for everything that you do. I know elections take a huge amount of your time, and with the absentee ballots, it's even adding more to it. So thank you for you and your staff.
Thank you.
Here are some projects that were identified from the SAW grant for 2021. We're trying to get those in the budget. The Dogwood Drive, lift station here, 1 repairs, manhole repairs. So we're trying to get that into the sewer budget to get these taken care of in the upcoming fiscal year. Here's the pension for the former police department, Spring Lake Ferrisburg Police Department. Here you can see in 2014, when the police department disbanded, we were in the positive of $35,000. And then we were unfunded by $72,098. 127, and then 2018 they came and showed us that we were unfunded by $833,000, went from 91 to 71%. For 2019, they're showing that we're over $1 million unfunded. And I guess when their reasoning that there was such a jump in this area here was they were doing some calculations based on service years instead of eligibility. And so when some police officers retired at the earlier age that they were eligible to, they did not account for that. And that's why there was such a jump in the unfunded portion. And since that time, MERS has indicated that they have fixed that issue. So right now we're paying $7,152 a month for unfunded insurance. Next year it's going to go to $93.25. And of that cost of $93.25, that is split 50-50 between Spring Lake Village and Ferrisburg. Just as a reminder, we're hopeful that when we get the actuarial report for 2020, we'll get that report sometime in June of this year. As you recall, the city council, when we got some CARES money back from the sheriff's department, the village and the city of Ferrisburg put that money extra right back on the pension. So we've made a $75,000 extra payment on the police pension. So hopefully we'll bring that number back down into a manageable number. This is the city's pension. We were around the mid-70s. 2014, we closed the DB plan, and we held steady and steady, and went down a little bit in 2018, a little bit farther in 2019. So at this time, we're $835,000 unfunded. When the plan was closed in 2014, it was expected that the city's contribution would increase for a number of years due to the plan being closed. So this year, we're paying about $7,000 a month for unfunded pension, and next year, beginning July 1st of 2021, it's going to go up to $8,000. On a side note, we have been paying extra into this pension for probably the last 4 years. Here is state revenue sharing. This current fiscal year, we're expected to get $261,000. For next year, it's going to go down to $254,000, a drop of about $7,000 or 2.5%. Considering what the state and everybody has gone through over this past year, we're pretty pleased that this number is not less than what it is. This number here, the city, village, township revenue sharing, last year was around 18.3, about 18.6 this year. When you look at the stipulations to get that money, there's a number of things the city has to do, reports and so forth, dashboard and stuff like that to qualify for that money. Once that's done, the city will get that money over the course of a year. And then there's a calculation, and there's some of this money that is increased ought to go to, is required to go to unfunded pension or debt. So last year we took that money from the 18,000 and we put it on the pension. We hope to do the same thing next fiscal year. Full wage increase for employees is about 2% or $10,000. That's the same increase as last fiscal year. Currently, the DPW guys, there's one guy on call every week that has to stick around town, and they answer all the calls if there's a call out. In 2002, it started at $75. It hasn't changed since 2002. We're proposing to increase that to $100 per week, to $100 per week. As you recall, last year there was some flooding at Park Place Circle. The city petitioned the drain commissioner to set up an assessment, drain assessment. We haven't seen any numbers on that or cost share on that yet, but we threw a number of $20,000 in there that we want to budget. We think that's going to come up. If it does, we want to be able prepared to put some money on it. I have no idea what it's going to cost, but we put $20,000 in there. My understanding, you can pay that over a 10-year, your total assessment over 10 years. So if we had a $200,000 assessment, we're proposing to pay $20,000 a year. I guess we're not proposing, we're guessing that we would have to pay that number every year. And here's the payroll software I mentioned earlier that we have to purchase. That's about a $21,000 purchase. Here's Public Act 152. The state only allows you to pay a certain amount of dollars for health insurance coverage for employees. And if you don't go over that amount of $97,000 for the city, if you go over that amount, either the city has to either opt out or push the employees up to 20%. So over looking at the upcoming fiscal year, we haven't seen a proposed increase in health insurance premiums. I put in a plug of 10% increase. If that comes to fruition, we're going to be about $14,000 over the hard cap. Here you can see that employees at 15% for a single family is $1,266. If it goes up to 20%, it goes up to $1,687. The monthly cost is about $35 increase. For a family, it would be about $100 increase per month if this employees go up to 20%. Last couple of years, last 4 or 5 years, the city council has opted out of the hard cap PA 152. So at this time, I'm looking for a direction on city council on which direction you want to move with this health insurance premium cost share.
Mr. Bessinger, if we opt out again for this year, is there a way that we could try to establish like a health savings account to help alleviate some of this burden on the employees? Because then that would be pre-tax money that they would be able to put in.
Yes, we could look into that, but that's typically money that is put into by the employee.
Right.
I'm not sure if you're looking for an employer to contribute to that as well, or
Is there a way that, I guess if we're receiving some of this funding from the state or actually from the federal, is there a way that some of that could be earmarked for this? And so it would allow us to opt out? Or are those directives still to come from the federal?
the money that's going to come from the federal on the stimulus
Mhm.
plan, that money has not been, the Treasury Department is going to set all the regulations on what that money can be used for. At this time, they haven't done that. And
Okay.
it's going to take a little bit of time, 30 days, I guess.
Sure.
I guess they got 30 days to get the money to the local units, 30 to 60 days. So Treasury, I'm not sure we'll have the regulations in place by then. The city will get half that money this year and half that money next year. If you're gonna do a health savings account, if you want to get up to 20%, you could make a deposit in a health savings account where they could use it to draw off on your insurance. We could look into something like that.
Okay. Are other municipalities working on something like this, or do they already have something put in place that you know of?
Number of communities opt out of the Public Act 152. The comment was that the community can decide better how to spend the money than the state telling them what to do. A number of communities do require employees to pay 20%.
Okay. What would the cost be to the city if we did choose to opt out this year again?
So I'm sorry, I missed the question.
I don't know if you're gonna have these numbers yet, or do we need to wait until May or June to receive the actual amount of what it would cost if we opted out of this? If we opted out of the PA 152, what the cost would be to the city?
Yeah, it would cost the 14,500.
14? Okay. Is this something that the budget would be able to absorb this year?
Well, let me take that back. It wouldn't be quite 14,000 because I think I did the calculation. And even if we're at 20%, we're still over the hard cap by a few dollars. I can't remember the dollar amount.
Okay.
It was $5,000 or $6,000. But as long as you got the employees at 20%, and then you qualify and you're meeting the requirements of Public Act 152. So either on the Public Act 152, you either got to require the employee to pay 20% of the healthcare premium,
Mhm.
the city needs to opt out.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah, I would be in favor of the city opting out. We've done that, the last 4, 5, 6 years. I think that's only fair to our employees to opt out.
I agree.
Do we need a motion or anything to do that, or what do you need, Craig?
I'm looking for direction from city council. We'll put together a resolution to bring the city council for your consideration then.
Okay.
I think we should opt out.
Agreed.
Other comments?
I agree too. I think
Okay.
we should opt out.
Opt out.
Opt out?
Yeah, I agree, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right, we'll move in that direction. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bessinger. And thank you, council, for supporting the staff on this one.
Next thing we're talking about is brush pickup with proposal. Last year, we did it every other month, April, June, August, and October. This year, Public Works Service, our Public Works Department is proposing just April and October, and then storm damage in between. They give some of their justification and gives them more time to do other things. And they think it's gonna save them some money. So I told them I'd be open to that, but if we start having a problem with brush backing up or showing up, we might have to do something different. And we're gonna have to make sure that people know that even when it comes to October and they haven't had any brush pickup since April, they're still only gonna be able to get 30 minutes of brush pickup per residence.
Mhm.
We can't afford to have people stacking brush up from May, June, July, and August, and September, and then the guys go out there and there's 4 hours work at each residence. That's not gonna work out.
Is this something that DPW believes that they would be able to manage, doing it twice a year to move to that schedule?
They believe so, yes.
If council decides to move forward with this, is this something that we would need to add to the shoreline to notify our residents of this change?
Yes, we will.
Are you looking for direction, Craig? As far as,
Nope, we're good.
okay, thank
Just
you.
information at this time. And then the next thing we're gonna work on is trying to figure out what our millage reduction fraction was. Last year, you can see it was less than 9.809, which reduced our millage down to 7.87 from the previous year of 8.03. The assessor will be in this week, and all the final numbers have been finalized from the board review. So we're gonna get that number, and then we'll be able to really sharpen the pencil and see where we're at with the upcoming budget.
Okay.
That's all I have at this time. If anybody has any questions.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I do have a question on the election costs. It is my understanding that the state and federal government have come out with new standards, or they're going to, which is going to drastically increase our costs. Even though that may not have already be in place, I think we should take a look at being prepared to pay those extra costs, find out what they are. I was talking with our clerk, and she stated that there would be we'd have to hire some new people to for the extended voting. So there are going to be some additional costs on that.
We'll look into that.
Okay.
Any other, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Bessinger at this time regarding the 21-22 budget,
Your Honor,
proposed budget? Yes.
last meeting, we had the presentation on storm sewers and capital improvements, et cetera. Is there anything that we can do to bring ourselves up to the same level of funding that one slide that they presented about what other cities and villages are levying in our area? And we're extremely low compared to everybody else.
The option would be to go before the voters and ask for Kelly override. We can do that if city council wishes. We could do the November election. The other option would be in 23 would be the last year we levied the bike path bond millage, and that's a $500,000 is to go to the residents at that time. Or we could ask for a $500,000 now, and then when the bond, expires in 23, to ask for another $500,000 at that time. It's up to city council which direction you want to move in.
Your Honor,
Yes.
the only reason I bring this up is that out of all the municipalities that were listed in that slide from 2 weeks ago, we're the lowest, and it just seems like we're just constantly we're hamstrung with not having enough funds. And it's not fair to the citizens, and it's not fair to staff, and it's just down the road, it's just going to be an ugly, ugly situation, getting worse.
So with hearing that, would council give directive to staff to add this to a work session? Because we need to do something sooner than later if we're looking at trying to add something to the November ballot.
I think that's, I agree with Councilmember Carlson. We do need to take a look at that. I'm not big on raising taxes, but this is something we need to at least come up to something that's more than what we have. Eventually, the way it's going, we won't have any money to spend.
Mhm.
On the screen here, it talks about, this is our street improvements. And, you know, we're trying to get Pine Street done. We're trying to get Carmen Drive done, 168th Avenue, Lake Road. We're just trying a hard time to get that in these projects. You know, the seawall comes up unexpectedly. You know, it could cost anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000. But you look at here, besides Lake Road, there are no local streets in there to being proposed to be repaired in the next 5 or 6 years. There's a number of local streets in the city that are in dire need of work as well. And that's all going to have to be a city cost. We're not going to get any funding from the MPO on those. You know, we got money for the MPO on Dogwood. We typically been getting money from the MPO every third year. So do we wait another 3 years in 25 and try to put the 168th Avenue project in there for funding? You know, that's a long street. That's gonna cost a few dollars to repair that. It's just that the street projects are just getting so expensive that there's no money left over for the local streets or some of these major streets. The street in front of the post office getting bad. The north side of 4th Street by Oak is bad. Some of these, you've driven them.
Mr. Bessinger, is this something that you'd be able to put together something for a work session that we could review and then move forward with it, possibly to put on the November ballot?
I can do that, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Councilmember DeWitt.
Is this the time we need to discuss we had a consultant on the water and sewer fund say that we need to go up like 2 to 2.5% per year. Is this the time to bring that up? Right now, it's going to start sliding backwards. That was, I don't recall the guy's name, but I think it's from Trina Newhoff, but they recommended a 2 to 2.5% per year increase on the water and sewer, or one or both. I guess I want to feel out the council's thoughts on that. You know, we're going to get squeezed here real bad. At least we can keep those funds in a healthy position.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the citizens would be much more tolerant to a reasonable rate increase on a yearly basis rather than a 10 or 15% all at once.
I agree. Is this a consensus of the council, is to consider a rate increase for Mr. Bessinger?
Your Honor.
Mhm.
We haven't really got into the calculation of what the water and sewer charges are going to be. We're putting all this together in a mix right now and see what is required to fund those proposed improvements. So hopefully at the next work session in April, I'll have some more information and a proposal for you for an increase on water and sewer.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Any other additional questions or comments for Mr. Bessinger regarding the proposed budget? No? Okay, thank you very much. Moving down to public comments. We have 2 attendees. Do either the attendees wish to speak at this time? Hearing none, seeing no hands raised, we'll move down to reports. City Manager.
No report?
Thank you. Go across the screen, Councilmember Carlson.
No report.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Donnell.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Board of Review did meet this week,
Mhm.
or last week, and we discussed 23, had 23 different cases to discuss. And we had a very, I think, very successful meeting. And also I will be attending the MML CapCon meeting tomorrow, and looking forward to getting some new information to hopefully bring back to the council
Thank you.
and a report.
Thank you. Councilmember Montgomery.
Yes, we have our town hall meeting this week for the Parks and Recreation Fire Barn Park. We've got a lot of good feedback so far from various groups we've shared with, and on social media, lots of praise on both the overall concept and different aspects we've added, as well as the inclusivity that we've made a point of. So I look forward to showing everybody and hearing more comments on the 18th.
On the 18th. Thank you. 7 p.m., correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember DeWitt.
No report.
Councilmember Sias.
Beautification Commission still trying to make the tough decision of to go forward with the 4th of July parade and festivities. Hopefully, if we can't have all the festivities, we can have a parade or something of that element. So that's it. Also, I'd just like to welcome Sergeant Christine Went to the new position here in Spring Lake and Ferrisburg. Sorry we missed her tonight, but welcome. So,
Yep.
End of report.
Well, welcome her back at another time.
Yeah.
I just have a couple things. Just want to extend a congratulations and a thank you out to Assistant Fire Chief Len Vanderjack for serving almost 30 years on the fire department. That's a long time to serve on a volunteer force. Really appreciate his service, and he's definitely going to be missed by everyone. I participated in the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation, their 50th anniversary video. And then I want to extend a shout out to Cindy Burkhauer from Access to Recreation. She's been willing to assist the Recreation Commission during their master plan, brought some pretty good ideas to the table, and actually the Rec Commission agreed with some of the ideas, and that was really positive. And then also for including some of the community stakeholders, Gracious Grounds and Disability Network. So to participate in Thursday's public forum, that's going to be important. And it's also on the other side, we had a new business move into town from Grand Haven about 3 years ago, Marcia at Curves, and she has now closed the doors. So sad to see a business leave at this time. Marcia has been a good friend in that over the years. So it's going to be someplace that's going to be sad to see dark. And then also to staff, Craig and Debbie, for the update on our 2021 goals. Looks like we're definitely moving ahead, and some are going to be able to get crossed off the list this year, and we're not even halfway through the year. And that's it. So motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you. Have a great night. Stay safe.